Welcome to Secrets for an Inspirational Life with Mimi Novic, the place where every heart tells its story. Whether it's inspiration, courage or hope you need, you've come to the right place. Sit back and enjoy the journey with us. Subscribe below to be sure you don't miss future episodes.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Secrets for an Inspirational Life. How are you all today? I hope that you are treating yourselves with a little kindness, which goes a long way. I think that we now are in really sort of difficult times in a lot of ways. And one of the things that we can all do and that makes a huge amount of difference to our own life and to the life of others is that we should show care and compassion. And sometimes we forget, because we're human, that it all begins with us. If we are kind and compassionate with ourselves, we can then extend that compassion and kindness to other people, animals, whatever it is in our life. And it's something that's so needed and makes all the difference to someone's day. And I know for myself is that when I see somebody and they have a kind word to say, it actually does make my day. So together, we can really create that ripple to make at least someone's day better. Now, I am absolutely delighted to welcome today my guest, who is all the way from Bulgaria. I love that when I say these countries, really I do. I just love it. And that is the very lovely Justine Garratt. Justine is the founder of Santerpaws Bulgarian Rescue. She was brought up in the Cornish countryside, surrounded by a variety of animals. Justine was brought up in the 70s, where life was pretty free and easy, and mostly she would be out in the evenings making tree houses. Sounds very idyllic. But with little prospects of a decent job in Cornwall at that time, she decided to look at the police force and the prison service. She applied for both and was accepted for both, but she decided to go the prison service way. Her entire professional life was actually indeed the prison service. And in 2013, she decided to take early retirement. She says that she always imagined when she left the prison service that she would leave the country and start afresh somewhere else. She finally left her job and left for Bulgaria with all her belongings in the back of a horse box and her 3 dogs. After about 3 weeks of working on the house that her and her partner had chosen to live in, she took some rubbish to the local skip and inside found 6 newborn puppies. She, of course, couldn't leave them there and brought them home. And this is really where the story begins. After that, the locals started to dump puppies on her doorstep, throwing them over her hedge. And after about a year, while talking to her friend in the UK, she asked her how she would feel about setting up a charity. Her words were, "Yes, please." And so Santerpaws, the charity, was born. They now have the capacity to house 150 dogs and roughly always have at least 50 waiting to come in. They have homed almost 7,000 dogs in about 10 years. Today, she shares a very interesting story. Welcome, dear Justine.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on this with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's really a pleasure to have you, Justine. And reading all of that, it's such an amazing thing to open a charity, to live that life of helping dogs that are less fortunate than other dogs, I have to say, but also to lead a life that's really a life of dedication. Now, let's go back a bit, far back. How did all this happen? Tell us a little bit about your life and how you sort of eventually ended up where you are now.
Um, I suppose, I mean, I've always loved animals. I've always had animals around me. I've always liked to have help in some way. I've fostered children, and when I was in the UK, I used to also take help another rescue and take dogs for a few weeks until we found them homes, and then we used to home them. So I, even though I promised my partner that when I moved to Bulgaria, I would not open a rescue. I promised him that faithfully. Um, I think it was always going to happen. I think it was always we were always destined for this to happen. It's something I feel very comfortable with. It's something that I'm happy to do. I don't regret doing it. I enjoy every minute of it. And I always have, all the way through my life, like to be around lots of animals, um, more so than people. I do, like people. I'm not antisocial, but yeah, I I do, I like to have animals around me. Possibly not as many as I've got now, but it is what it is.
And how many have you got at the moment?
Well, at the 150 I should have, I think I've got about 207. So at last,
207.
yes,
Now,
out of the 150.
gosh. Um, so, but you are now an established charity, aren't
We are, yeah. It
you? You
took
are.
us a while to get the charity status, but we are a British charity and a registered Bulgarian shelter, which is quite unique, I think. Um, so as in, I don't think there are any other British charities. I might, if I'm wrong, I apologise to anybody out there, but I don't think there's any other British registered charities in Bulgaria that's also a registered shelter. So it's quite unique because we were visited last year by AFA, who is the UK standards, and they shouldn't have come to us really because it's not their right to come into another, especially now you're out of Europe. But we said no, come in, come on, have a look, and they did, and they were very impressed with what they saw. So it, I think that's really good as well because we've got so we're approved by the UK as well as Bulgaria.
Now,
So
I'm going to go all into details about that, about the whole thing that you're doing there, how to help the dogs and all of that. But first, I want to know a little bit about your life. And I know that you were a prison officer. And I have to say, for people out there, I said to Justine, you were a prison officer and now you're doing this huge sort of um, thing for dogs. And how did that all come about? From being in such well, I suppose, a strict environment to you then doing this. How did that happen with the dogs?
um well it just does. I mean it's I didn't set out to do it. As I said, I didn't set out to do this, but I left the prison service. My grade was being this got rid of basically. So they said you can go for promotion, you can mark time at um you know at the rate you are, but you're going to be in an office. So you'll have the grade, but you'll have to be in an office. And I thought I can't do that. I don't want to be in an office. I don't want to be promoted and not be paid for it. And I don't want to go back down a rank. So the other alternative was they'd pay me some money to go. So I said I'll take the money, thank you. Um, and then a few years before, my partner and I came over to Bulgaria on holiday, and I always said I fancied living here because it's so much like it's so much like the UK. It's so much like Cornwall growing up in the 70s. It's so, except for they've got IT, and I love the country. I love the country so much. Um, but the so I came over here to retire, and I had no intention. I I had no intention to set it up, but I think it was always, as I say, it was always destined to happen, I think. Um, and yeah, and I've got the most amazing partner who pretty well accepts anything I do, bless him. Um, and
That's
and
handy.
that's yeah, it is very handy. And I mean, I feel mean actually. Sometimes he has to put up with a lot more than he should do, but because our house is literally for dogs. I mean, we don't have a sofa to sit on because it got eaten. And you get a second hand one and that gets eaten. So we sit on, in the evenings we sit on metal chairs. And I think it takes someone very special to put up with that. Um, you know, because yes, he's involved. He's one of the trustees in the charity, but he's been pretty well much made to be part of the charity. He wasn't really asked. He didn't really get a. It wasn't really. He was, coerced into it. Really, bless him. But he loves it. He loves it as well. I mean, he's got. He always says when he sees a dog in its home that's been, a new dog that's gone into a home that's been here for a long time, and you see the videos because we've got an owners page and stuff, and you see the videos of them in their new homes, and he said it's that's why we do it. So
Mm.
he's very much into it as well. It's just that he had no choice. Just he was just dragged into it. Bless him.
Well, he had a choice, of course, but he chose to do it. And I think one of these things in life, I don't know about you, Justine, but sometimes whatever it is that's destined for us actually chooses us. And we don't have a say sometimes. It just seems the right thing to do. It's too strong a pull to do it. And look at you now. You are leading this life, which is actually a way of life.
Yeah,
It's
very much
you are
so.
engrossed in it completely, aren't you?
Yeah, very much so. Very much
And
so.
and so you didn't go out there, did you, to start a dog charity? You went out there to retire, to have a peaceful life, and then you
Yeah.
found these puppies.
Yes, basically. And then once so the story of those puppies is they came here and they were too young. And I had a village guy working for me, helping me with bits and pieces. My partner was back in the UK earning money at that point, so it was just me, which is a bad bad thing to do. Just leave me. If he'd been here, it probably wouldn't have happened. And I said to him, we need to find the mother of these puppies. And he said, well, I doubt if you will. But he went around door to door, bless him, and he found the mother. And he spoke to the guy, and the guy said, yes, I'll take the puppies back, but I can't afford to feed them. So I bought the food, and then I promised that when they got to 8 weeks, I would take them back, and we'd go from there. And he was, and then the next thing he allowed me was to neuter the mum. So that was pretty special too, because that was the last litter from those dogs. So, from that female. So that was nice. So he let me neuter the mother, and I took the puppies, and when we found them homes in the UK. And of course, word got out that I took these puppies. So more puppies arrived, and then more puppies arrived. And I mean, I go outside, and there would be puppies on my literally on my patio thing outside on the steps. Um, I'd go I'd go into my garden, and there'd be puppies in the garden that had just been dumped over the side. And it was a little bit silly, really. It was getting out of hand because obviously, I mean, I hadn't set up a charity. I hadn't any, so I was advertising these dogs, sort of ish, as a person. Can you pass it on that I've got these puppies? And people weren't going for it. It was getting a bit. I don't know what to do. And then
Mm.
Amanda, who's the charity secretary, she's also a very close friend of mine. We were on the phone. I said, I have to say, we were slightly drunk because it was my birthday and I was in Bulgaria and she was in the UK. So we were having a drinks over the phone. And I said, we should really start a charity. And she said, oh, yes, please. So I blame her, she blames me. And that's how it started. But I do remember her definitely saying when I said to her, shall we start a charity? She said, yes, please. So it's her, really. She should.
You have some really good sort of aces up your sleeve with your partner, with your friend, and say, well, actually, it's all your fault. You went back to England and abandoned me. And it was Amanda's idea. So
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I never, it wasn't my fault at all.
not at all, not at all.
No, not in the slightest. No,
No,
this is
no, no,
never,
no, no.
it's never about me.
Oh, now I wanted to ask you, was it a difficult thing? How did it all begin? Do you live in a village? Do you live in a town? How did it all start that you then,
Right.
because you had to
Well,
have buildings then, didn't you, for dogs and that sort of
yeah.
thing?
I mean, it was a bit of a nightmare, to be honest, in the beginning. Um, this is so in depth and so long. I'm going to have to do this brief because you haven't got
In
enough
a
time in the day.
paragraph, in a paragraph.
So in a paragraph,
Mm.
we live in a village, um, in in a village, and at that time I had quite a few neighbours, and they were older neighbours, and they were okay. They were quite nice, um, to me at that point, and they we had to go to the mayor, and at that point the mayor wasn't a problem either. And he said, okay, you can have 20 dogs at your place. Um, and within about, I suppose, 3 or 4 weeks, we had about 30 dogs at our place. And then it became problematic, and there was um, issues with everything. And the mayor decided he didn't like me. And then we looked outside the village, and we found an animal area, where they've got goats and sheep and horses and pigs and you name it, it's out there. And there was a building that was completely derelict that was just storing hay. And I said, can we rent that from you? And their eyes lit up because I was English, and they said, oh, yes, you can, definitely. And they said they charged me an extortionate amount of money to do it. And then I rented this property and moved the dogs out to find that what I'd done was totally illegal because it wasn't a registered shelter, and I shouldn't have had so many dogs outside, even it was outside the village, and it was, so they were fining me. And then we've said, like, well, we've got to have something to do. Then COVID hit us. And thankfully, because COVID hit us, we had some people that were um, that were working and didn't have enough work to do, and COVID was brilliant for us in the fact that we were homing an awful lot of dogs, but we were also bringing an awful lot of money in. It was time, and COVID paid for that shelter to be built. And the authorities didn't want us to have the shelter, but we kept going back and with this and everything, bits and pieces that they would say you have to have this, so we built it. Then they'd say you have to have that now, and then we built it, and we kept going back. So technically, we've probably got one of the best shelters around because they didn't want us to have it, but eventually they approved it. But the mayor of our village will still oppose absolutely anything we can do. If he can oppose it, he will. He's never forgiven me for winning that battle.
Is he
But
still
never
there?
mind. Sadly, he is. Yes, sadly, he is. But he's actually got this. The mayor's secretary is a younger lad, and he speaks very, very good English. And he's really, really helpful. And we've started like a neutering campaign around the village. And he's really backed us on that. I don't. I mean, I can't say the mayor's a problem to me anymore. He keeps away from me, and I keep away from him. But he's, it's not an issue. And when I need anyone, I speak to the mayor's secretary, and we deal with it that way. And I don't mean I always get what I want, because I don't. I'm still waiting for a dustbin. That's a long story, and because he won't give me one. But yeah, no, it's sad. But it's just it's just one of those things. But I've got the right in now, which is good. It's very useful. And he's very good. He's a nice lad, and he's very pro neutering. And it's working because I don't know, a couple of years ago, I think I walked into our because our dining room is where we keep the puppies. It's not actually where we eat. Um, and and I think it was something like 56 in there a couple of years ago. And then I walked in there the same time a year later, or 2 years later, and there's 12, so it's really is making it, neutering is really making a difference to this area, really making a difference.
It's sad in a way, though, isn't it, that we have to resort to that to neuter these animals. But in this sort of day and age, the way that the world is, what else can you do, in fact? Because it just causes a huge problem when there are so many dogs that are uncared for and mistreated. What do you say to people that say, because there's two sides to this? I've had people that say, I've heard this argument so many times, but we shouldn't neuter them. And then I've heard people say, well, what option is there?
But
in these circumstances.
Yeah, I mean the problem is I would, if it moves, I neuter it. I even, if I'm left in charge of, if someone goes away on holiday and says to me, look after my dogs for me, this is a warning to anyone out there that does this. When they get back, their dogs will be neutered, or the cats, or both. I neuter everything. There is no, because they're not kept like here. They're not kept like they are in the UK. They're not in a. I mean, some are. Don't get me wrong. They're not. You can't say that about every single person. That's not true. But most of these dogs are that in our villages are on chains. They don't get off chains. They come into season, and they can't even get away. The males will jump in, and that's it. They tie. And the next thing you know, you've got another litter of puppies coming in. But now we take the puppies, but we say, please let us neuter your bitch, because I'm not taking them another time. I would, but they don't need to know that. And most people are saying, yes, do it, please do it, take them. And unless people are going to have these dogs in their houses and look after them when they come into season, there is nothing you can do. There's nothing they can do.
Now, I know you've told me about one dog. This is just an example for people out there of how animals are badly treated. And I'm just so disturbed by this whole thing. And I can't even watch rescues on animals because it's just too tormenting for me, and it really does affect me. But you told me about one dog that you saved that was on a chain for 9 years. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, Tandy.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Tandy, I mean, we used to have, when I first moved here, I had goats. Don't ask. They didn't last because I'm a vegetarian and I couldn't kill. So the first year I had one goat. The next year I had 10 goats, and then I think we got up to about 30. And I said, they've got to go, because we'd have had thousands of goats, and you can't neuter a goat. Well, you can males, but my vets and around here, they just think it's an odd thing to want to do, and they won't do it. So
I have to say, sorry to interrupt you, Justine. Am I allowed to share the story about the lion? About the lions?
The lions. That wasn't me. That was my brother. But yes, you can. I mean, yes.
But this is a lady here who, just by the way, is talking. We're talking, and she said, "Oh, by the way, do you know that we had 2 lions?" Very interesting. So you now know, for everybody out there, why I had to get her onto here. One of the many reasons I had to get her onto the show. Tell us afterwards about the lions, because it's just
Okay.
incredible. But sorry, carry on. I rudely interrupted you.
No, that's okay. So yeah, so we had lots of goats and they had to go. But when we had the goats, they had to go out to pasture every day. So we would walk the goats down the road, down to the through the what and it this is not it's not a racist thing. It's they call it the gypsy village. That's what it's called, you know. So we used to walk down there every day, and they had they had this puppy, and she was only, oh, I don't know, 8 weeks, and she was on a chain and she was tiny. And I said, can we take her? Oh, you don't need her. And he said, no, she's, I've bought her to go on the chain. And all her life, I mean, I don't know how many litters of puppy she must have had. She must have had loads, and they wouldn't look after her. And the chain was about, oh, I don't know, 3 meters long, and she had nothing to keep her, um, out of the elements. She was boiling in the summer, and she was freezing in the winter, and she was wet when it was raining, and frozen when it was snowing. It was horrible. And used to go down there whenever. And then um, she was about, I don't know, she got to about 9 years old, and I went down there, and it was freezing. I mean, it was really, really cold. So the collar, I don't know how it happened, but the collar just came undone, and she came back with me. And yeah, and then within, I don't know, about 2 weeks, she was in the UK. And well, not she wasn't in the UK within 2 weeks, but she was ready to go to the UK because it takes a month to get from there. And she was neutered, and she's got her passport, and she went to the UK. And now you'll see pictures of her on the beach with her new family, and it's very, very lovely.
Incredible,
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. And oh gosh, it makes me really smile, and it gives me such a warm feeling, and it must be um incredible for you to see
Yeah,
this.
yeah, that's the ones that, the puppies come in, and they're puppies, and don't get me wrong, they've got a life, but they've never had a bad life. I mean, they wouldn't have been born in the best places and stuff like
Mm.
that, but they will never remember it. They will never have issues, because they're brought to us. They're puppies. They come in. We look after them as any breeder would do. We vaccinate them, treat them for parasites, take care of them. We handle them. We let they grow up with our cats. They grow up with other dogs. So they socialize. We throw them to the farmers' children. Well, I don't throw them, obviously, but the farmers' children come in, and they play with them, and they play with them, and stuff, and they get used to them, and that, and so they have a good all round upbringing. We lead train them, we walk them, and everything. So they have a good start. But the ones that have been on a chain for 3 years, 4 years, 6 months,
Mm.
even, they've had they've got something to get over. They're going to have, they're going to have problems. They're going to have whatever. But I mean, it's like, go back to Tandy. She's not even called Tandy now. I can't think of a new name, but she was called Tandy. Go back to Tandy. I mean, she never knew anything for 9 years, and she was one of the sweetest dogs you'll ever meet. Such
Oh,
a gentle dog. And you think to yourself, you deserve the very, very best. And thank goodness she's got it. She has absolutely got it. She's got the most amazing family. I couldn't be prouder of the team in the UK that of our we got a team in the UK. I couldn't be prouder of them for getting that dog into a lovely home, and they did so well. I mean, they sent her to foster as well first, just to get her somewhere. Obviously, I was worried that they might come looking, but they never did. Obviously, because she followed me home, so I needed her to go as soon as we could.
oh,
But yeah,
but it's
but yeah.
absolutely beautiful to hear such stories. And I want to know more, because I want people to be made aware of the work that you do. And also, say, for example, let me ask you something. So do you take on any breed of any age?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Okay. And importantly, because I have to, for everybody
One
listening, yeah.
one second on that. I will try my absolute hardest not to take on any banned breeds from to the UK. So like pit bulls, I will do anything I can not to take them. But I have a friend who also has a rescue in Pleven. She's Bulgarian. And she will. What normally happens if a pit bull type breed comes in, I will give it to her because she has contacts in the Netherlands and Belgium, so they will get home there. And I don't have contacts there. I have friends there, but not we've homed a few, but not many. Um, so pit bulls I don't take so I will swap. I say to her, like, there you go, there's one pit bull, I'll take two of your puppies from you or something, and it's a good all round swap. She's happy because she's got rid of two and she's only got one in exchange, and yeah, it works. So that's
It
the only
works.
breed I yeah. But that's
Okay.
because I can't afford to have dogs here forever. We need to home them. So
But you have a no kill policy.
oh, absolutely,
Mm,
absolutely,
mm,
100%.
mm.
Obviously, if they're sick and they're ill, then yes, we do the kindest thing we can. But thankfully, not that's not thankfully at all. But even my vet, he's a no-kill vet, which is a pain in the ass when you've got a really sick dog, and you know it's going to die and it's in pain. You think, oh, I can't. You've got to go to another vet to get it euthanized. Um, but he has a couple of times saved dogs by being like that because I've taken a dog there and I've said this has got to be euthanized. And he said, well, we could try this treatment first, and it's worked. So
Hmm.
actually, I'm quite pleased that I'm delighted I've got the vet I've got. He's amazing. So yeah. Um
That's important to know, I think, for people, because I know that one of the things that always concerns me about shelters is that some of them, after a certain period, will actually kill the animal. And that I think a lot of people are afraid of that. If they, for example, bring a dog, any animal, I suppose, to a shelter, it's important to know that it's not going to be destroyed.
well, I mean, if there's no reason to destroy it,
Mm,
for instance, if a dog bites, I don't care what anyone says. If a dog bites, it's got a reason to do so.
mm.
It's scared. It's there is some reason that dog bites. It might be in pain. It's got there is a reason. So even dogs that bite, we manage them. We don't destroy. But if we've got a dog here and it really is, if it's really sick and it's suffering, then yes, we will do what's right. So we will euthanize.
Because
But
you
I
know
mean
that
that
sometimes, yeah, because you know sometimes, Justine, they say, like, you watch programs and videos and YouTube and the TV, and they say, if we can't find a home within this period of time, the dog or the cat or whatever has to be put down.
yeah, no, that doesn't happen here.
That's not you, is it? That's not
No,
your
not at all. No, we're
charity.
completely no kill. No, and
Okay.
we've even had dogs come back that would have been, they've bitten in the UK and they've got a bite history. So we'll say, right, no, forget it. They can't go out again because if they bite again, they're looking at euthanasia. So we bring them back to Bulgaria and they live with our pack. We've got like a quite an established pack which will accept outsiders as long as it's myself or Lynn that introduces them to the pack. So we've got
Uh,
quite a nice pack of dogs. Um, Sometimes we have to do it slowly. Sometimes we can just put them straight in.
mhm,
But we
mhm.
we can judge it, engage it by because we know the dogs and we're there all the time. Um, Sorry,
And how
Lynn's
many
my
volunteers do
my
you have?
manager. Um, I've got Lynn, who's a permanent shelter manager. She manages the shelter with myself. And I've got four. Have I got four? Yeah, four cleaners that come in every single morning and clean. I've got a donkey walker. Um, And
Have you got a donkey?
I've got two donkeys. I've got one
Oh,
very young donkey and one very, very old donkey. And the very, very old donkey has got a habit of falling over. So we walk it. And that way it stays on its feet. And then if it falls over in the stable, we can get it up very easily. But if if it falls down outside, or no, it doesn't fall down. It's like this weather. She's molting, so if you don't groom her out enough, she'll roll. So we,
oh,
we so we've got so we've actually employed a guy who's got no money in the village, and he walks our donkey for us every day. So it's good. It's
oh,
not a lot of money, but it buys his cigarettes every day or
oh!
whatever he wants.
You're like a Doctor Doolittle, Justine.
Except for I'm not a very good doctor. And
Oh, it's
I can't talk to them either. I can talk to them, they don't answer me.
oh, but just amazing, really. Now, practically speaking, for people out there, because I know a lot of people from the UK and from other countries adopt, for example, the well-known places is Romania. Bulgaria
Yeah.
isn't so well known, I don't think, as it should be. But anyway, that's another story for another day. So, for someone, let's give two scenarios. Someone comes onto your website, sees a dog, and wants
Yeah.
to adopt the dog. Let's say the UK,
Okay.
and they
So
like the dog. Okay,
yes. So
is it the
they
same
there
procedure as in every other country, or do other countries have different procedures?
don't know. I don't know 100%. What, as in to adopt the dog, different procedures, or
Yes, to
adopt?
adopt the dog. Let's take the UK. I've seen a dog on your site
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I want to adopt the dog. What
Okay,
is the procedure?
okay. Well, now it's only just changed slightly. We've got a really our website's up and running because we got Gordon, our IT guy. He set up this new with a friend of his. He set up this new website, so it's really really good now. So it's easier to adopt from us than it's ever been before. So you see a dog you like, you would click on, it says whether the dog's available.
Mm-hmm.
And if the dog's available, you click on the available adopt me thing, and then it will tell you to fill out this application form. The application form will come to us. We will then read through it and say, yeah, that dog would be suitable for you. No, that dog wouldn't, but maybe have a look at this one or whatever. Um, for instance, if we've got a dog that doesn't like cats, then we're not going to home it with the dog with someone who's got cats.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't like that is So we look at the dog and okay, this dog would work for you. We accept the application. We say if you'd like the dog reserved, we want a deposit. So they have to give us a £40 deposit. We reserve the dog and then we apply for a home check. And the home check's done with the A team, which is I think it's another charity. I'm not sure if it's actually registered as a charity, but it's definitely an organisation, and they're very very good. And everybody's they're police checked as well. They're not just
They go
it's not
round to
just
the potential person's
yes, and they go to
house.
yes, yeah, they do, and they check the houses as they say,
Oh,
and they'll
okay.
check out. And we send a profile of the dog to the A team so that they know that the dog, that they also get to gauge whether the dog would be suitable for that
Mm-hmm.
house. And then we take the deposit. If the home checks have failed, they would get the deposit back. That's the only time we'd give the deposit back. And then we say, right, the next transport, thank you very much, you've passed your home check. The next transport's going to be on, the next transport's going to be on the 17th, no, 7th of June, something like that. So, and then, we need your money the week before because we have to pay the transport, the adoption fee, because we have to pay the transporter, and that the transporter takes most of the money. And what's left is just enough to neuter the dogs and microchip and passport and all that sort of stuff to make it legal.
And how
So
much is it to
So
adopt a dog from you?
So adoption fee from us, if the dog is still in Bulgaria, and even if it's in the UK in foster and it's never been home before, the adoption fee is 430, because £300 of that is for the transport, and the other
Uh-huh.
130 is for we've got to pay taxes and stuff in the transport fee for the dogs to go. We also do the brucellosis tests, which is really quite hot in the UK just now. And we do the 4D tests to make sure they've got no Lyme's disease or
Oh, okay.
heartworm or anything.
Hmm.
And obviously everything's neutered. We do not, no dog would leave me unless it's neutered. And it's obviously got to have a passport and a microchip. So actually it's only, out of the 300, there's only 130 left to cover all those bills. And then on top of that, and after that, I mean, if the dog's been homed in the UK already, and it's not worked out for whatever reason, and we've we rehome it, it's 350 because we haven't got the transport fees and we haven't got the taxes and stuff to pay a second time of entering the country, and we've already paid out the brucellosis tests and the 4D tests, so we know that's all negative. So we haven't got that, so we drop it down to 350. People say, well, why are you taking 2 adoption fees off a dog? And the answer is because I've got probably 100 dogs here that will never ever have an adoption fee. I would never let a dog go to anybody that's not prepared to pay an adoption fee, because that's where bait dogs come in.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think it's a responsible thing to ask for us, you can't expect a dog for nothing. And if you do, have you got the money to
Look
look
after
after it?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So what happens? So they pay a £40 deposit,
yep.
and then the dog, when do they pay the final fee? When the dog is about to be
Yeah,
transported?
just
Mhm.
before transport, I'd send an email out to everybody to say that the transport's going to be on this date, and could you please send us the balance of the adoption fee. But once they've paid that is it. Once it's been paid, we don't give it back. I mean, it's not a refund job if it doesn't work out once it gets to the UK. It's once we've got the adoption fee, we've got the adoption fee. It's classed because we have, it could be the dog could end up being in kennel if it gives up, if they give the dog up, it could be in kennels for 4 or 5 months at £20 a night. So we have to cover these fees somehow. And we have to drive them around the country, and we have to do other bits and pieces. So we don't. Once you've paid the adoption fee, there is no refund on that. I know that some rescues do refund, but we do not, because of the implications. Because we do give full rescue backup, and we will look after. There's no.
Yeah.
We don't want our dogs ending up on Gumtree or whatever,
eBay. Yeah.
eBay. Well, you didn't get them on it, but you know what I mean. I don't want our dogs there, or
I know
we
it's
don't
an
want our dogs
extreme,
there.
but yeah, I get the
Yeah.
gist, and I think it's
So
good.
we fully rescue backup, but we also say to people that if it's not working with you, don't phone us and say the dog's got to be moved tonight, because you know and we actually say to people when they actually apply, if it's in there, we say, you don't expect it to be, it will, as soon as we find somewhere for it to go, it will go. But we can't, we can't just, I'm in Bulgaria, for goodness sake, and Amanda and the Inga and all the other girls that are, volunteering for us, they're all work full time. They can't just drop everything and go running and pick up the
Hmm.
pieces. And if the dog's in the UK, there's nothing wrong with the dog. Absolutely nothing wrong with the dog. So if the dog went to the UK, there is nothing wrong with it. Um, it's not been allowed time to settle. It's not been allowed time to adjust, maybe, but there's nothing wrong with the dog. Because we would never send a dog unless it's completely suitable to the UK, because of the cost, really. Because
Yes.
it costs us a
Yes.
fortune to bring them back, and we would. So,
Yeah.
if so, Yeah.
I understand. I understand. It's a big commitment, and it's something that people need to think about, definitely on a more serious level. But so the dog comes chipped and vaccinated, and it has a passport. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. And it also, when it leaves here, it gets traced. So so what happens is I have to go to my local vet office, central vet office, and they come out and they check the dogs, make sure they're healthy and they're fit, the ones that are going on transport. And so they're issued with a health certificate, which is done because I send 20 at a time, up to, well, maybe 25, but average of 20. It's done on one health certificate, so it's one big health certificate. So the vet, central vet guy, will come out to our premises and they check every single dog that's about to go on the transport, and they take they take the temperature, and then they worm them because they have to be wormed before they can get on the transport, and then the paperwork's
Mhm.
issued, and then they drive to, it's called traces. Well, it's traces across Europe, but that's no longer, since Brexit. It changed. It became an animal health certificate, I think, just to enter the UK. It's an animal health certificate. So we have to, but we issue all of that. We don't, but we get that all issued for us. Um, by our central vet clinic, and then it means that when they get to Calais, they just hand the paperwork over, and they come out, they check the dogs again in Calais, and they say, yeah, okay, right, um, yeah, they're in good condition. They're checking to make sure there's no dogs that are on there that's underage, because I know that rescues have in the past sort of like said that this dog's 6 months and it's actually only 10 weeks old or something. Not here. I'm not
Uh-huh.
saying that, I'm not saying
Mhm.
any rescue I know. I just know that that's happened because that's what they do.
Uh-huh.
But ours are 6 months before they travel normally anyway.
Oh, they're
So
6 months. And is
nearly,
there
yeah.
any, okay. So is there anything that the prospective owner needs to do themselves? Is there any paperwork they need to provide when the dog arrives into the country, let's say the UK? What happens when the dog arrives? Where does the new owner pick the dog up from?
Well, we have so because they have to go to kennels now. They have to go to kennels. So we send our dogs go to Amersham kennels. A friend of ours has got a kennels in Amersham, which is AFA registered. So they'll go there, and they clear their traces. So once their traces are cleared, which that allows AFA or DEFRA to visit if they wish to. Um,
Ah,
but we have all the addresses and everything, so we know where our dogs are. So if AFA or DEFRA haven't had the opportunity to go and see them when they move to the new place, we have the addresses, and they have done that in the past, and we've just said, well, they're there now, so they'll go and check them. If it's not very often that they check our dogs, but they can if they want to. In fact, since they've been here, I don't think they've checked any of our dogs. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But that, and then we have collection points. We have there's places that they're out the way, places that the transporters, because we hire a transporter to do it. I can transport myself if I wish to, but it takes me away from the place for 10 days at least, and I just don't have the time to do it every month. So
okay.
we
So
don't
they don't
we
go
don't
by plane,
no, they go by van. They go
by
by van
land.
across yeah,
Mhm.
across Europe by land, yeah.
And
But
what
they're
if
checked.
someone,
Go on.
okay, okay, because I wasn't sure if they went by plane. And what if there's only one dog in one country, say the Netherlands or I don't know, France? Would you take that dog specifically to that country?
Yes, because as long as it's en route, if it's en route, or do you mean there's nobody else has adopted this week, and let's go for one that's not en route? Um,
Yes, that's what I mean.
right,
Yeah.
okay, so Italy, we got a dog going to Italy. Well, we would come to an arrangement with the new owner. To be honest with you, we'd have to, because it would change the way we transported. I mean, I could probably find another transporter to transport one dog across
Mhm.
if it was that, or maybe I would say I'll meet you halfway, or maybe we would go all the way. It would really depend. If it was just one dog, I mean, we have a dog potentially going to the United States soon. And it's supposed to travel with somebody. So I've said to Lynn, the shelter manager, I said, there you go, you can go to the United States on holiday for a week, and that's it. That's all you get. But
On the
the dog
plane,
would,
would that be?
yeah, yeah. So that would obviously get flown over. But I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure because we've not actually done it yet. I've got
Okay.
dogs in Canada, but they've been adopted to the UK and then they've gone to Canada from there.
Okay.
But I could find out. I mean, it's
It's doable then. It's
oh,
doable.
absolutely, absolutely. Of course it
Okay.
is. You know,
Absolutely. This is what's
yeah,
important, I think, for people to know that whatever the situation, you are very helpful and you're very able and professional, and that anything really within your powers that can be done, you will do.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
If it means
that's
getting a dog
important.
into a home, I don't care where it's going. As long as it's a home, it's a good home. We will find a way of getting it there, definitely, 100%. It's. I mean, I don't know. They'd have to help with the costs because I don't. It would be a lot more to transport a dog to the United States than it would be to transport to the UK. So they'd have to help with
Yes.
the costs. But I would certainly go out of my way to get it there. There's no
Excellent.
doubt about it. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm, this is brilliant. This is brilliant to know. And Justine, how do you, for example, costs, food, vet bills, and things? Do you
We
rely
beg.
solely on donations?
Yeah, we do. We do. I do have a house in Cornwall, and my partner's got a pension. So when we've the shortfalls, it's my house money that tends to go on feed, and the rent from that goes on feed, and his pension goes on feed. So that happens an awful lot, which is sad really, because sometimes I think, oh, never mind.
Oh,
But it's not that bad. I'm not going to buy a new pair of boots and see my dog starving. So that's not going to happen. So but we do solely rely on. I mean, we've got 70,000 followers on Facebook,
I
and I
know, I
keep
know.
and I keep saying, if 10% of those donated £1, just £1,
Yes.
that would
Yeah.
be £7,000 a month, and I'd never have to beg for money for food again. And I tell you what, I'd be such a happy bunny. I would be so happy, because I absolutely breaks my heart to beg for money every month. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It's like when like when you're a real young child and you
Hmm.
want something and you go to your parents and say, "Can I have?" and you don't stop until you get it. You don't. I know that it's different because I need this to feed the dogs, but I hate it. I hate it. I really do. I absolutely hate it. There's nothing I hate more than begging for money, but we have to, because they wouldn't eat if. But I've got an amazing fan base, or we've got our supporters are absolutely. They come up trumps every single time. We get them every time I beg. We get the money in, but I don't want to have to beg. I just want them to set up the £1 donation. I just want to do that so I never have to beg again. That's all.
It's a huge amount of money for a little sort of donation. But you could get a whole load of money every month. And I think that's important to know, of how far actually every little bit does count. Even if
Absolutely.
even if it's a small amount that someone can, hopefully donate. And how can people donate, Justine?
They can set up a standing order.
Hmm.
We've got a bank account, obviously. They can donate through PayPal. They can go onto our website, and they can, on the website, there's a donate button, or they can go onto our Facebook page, and under most dogs, it says donate. and you can press that button and donate. It's very easy to donate to us, because we are a registered charity. Obviously, all our money's accounted for, and we have
Yeah.
an accountant. So it's not. You don't have to worry. It's not going anywhere. I'm not buying I'm not buying a sofa with it. It's not. It's just
Yeah.
it's going to the dog. So
Hmm.
we have to account for that. But it's very easy to donate. Very easy to
So
donate.
you can do a standing order for people out there who want
Yes.
to do a standing order. And then you can also do one-off payments via the bank or PayPal.
Yep. Yeah. Well, you can set up a direct standing order with PayPal as well that
You
comes
can
out every
do
month.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's something
Or
that's
or
that's handy.
yeah. Or you can go to our website, which is santerpawsbulgarianrescue.com, which is honestly, we've got the most amazing tech team. They're superb. And so's our fundraising team. I feel awful because like we got this wonderful girl called Karen who she's I never thank her enough, and she's brilliant. She often, I will be like, oh, I don't know what to do. All right, okay, I'll I'll do a scratch card, and she'll raise money through, a scratch card thing where people will pay to her, and she sets that up, and she does it really really fast, and she'll raise, I don't know, enough to feed the dogs, and she's come out, she brought it out of the bag more than once, and she's really really good. So we've got a good, and the website's brilliant now, so we've got the donate button on there, which we didn't have
Super.
before,
Yeah.
and it's easy to do. Even I've done it.
And
and
it's a
and
good network of people that you have supporting you.
yes,
That's
yes. When
important, isn't it?
yes, and if but they don't the network of volunteers we have. We've got foster homes both in Bulgaria and in the UK. The fosterers, amazing guys. At a drop of a hat, they will, they help out, and they've done so many times. And that we need more fosterers. That's another thing. If you're in the UK and you don't want to adopt, foster, because we need you. We need them, and we appreciate everything, every bit of help we get. We really really appreciate it, and you know we've got Amanda, who, as I say, the secretary, and she works a full-time job. She often doesn't finish till sort of 7-8 o'clock at night at her own job, and then
Hmm.
she'll spend hours on this. And Inga is another lady who's now joined us. Oh, she joined us a couple of years ago, and again, she works full time, and then she does this. And Andrea, every single one of them, they all work full time, or they've all got very very busy lives. Yet every evening they dedicate their evenings to us, and I just amazing. I'm so lucky, so lucky.
I
Um,
think
you
you
know,
are, and I think they're lucky as well to have you. I think the dogs are lucky. I think you're incredible, really. What you do and how you do it. I I'm so impressed, really. And
Thank you.
I want people out there really to go to your website. What's the website again? Say it once again, Justine.
Santerpaws, and Santerpaws is spelt Santer paws, bulgarianrescue.com. That's our website, and it's Santerpaws, not Santa, because a lot of people put Santerpaws in Santa, and it never gets there, because it's Santa, because my first name's Susan, and that's San, and then the last three letters is San. My partner's Peter, so the last three letters have been is Ter, so that's the Santa and Paws, because they've all got them. So Santa Paws Bulgarian Rescue at .com, santapawsbulgarianrescue.com. And
Okay.
yeah.
So your name is Susan. I know people are going to say, why are you calling her Justine?
Well, my
But we,
mother, my mother and my sister are to blame, not me.
oh,
So I told you, there's always someone to blame but me. So that it wasn't a serious thing. It was just that my sister's Joanne Stephanie, and I was they wanted to call me Justine Susan, but they decided that they didn't want the same initials. That was
Mhm.
my parents' thoughts. So they said, what we'll do is we'll call her Susan Justine, but we'll call her Justine, which was very confusing when you were growing up. Yeah.
I know, because for people listening out there, you said, well, actually, my name is Susan. And I've been saying Justine, but we have arranged it all. So fear not. Prior to Justine coming on.
we
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I want to ask you about the lions now, because people will actually be wondering about that.
Okay, so this is my brother, Mark, not
Mhm.
me. He's so my father died. Just very quickly, my father died when I was very young.
Mhm.
And my mother brought myself. I was the youngest. My brother's the eldest. My sister's the middle one, obviously, makes sense. And he's not a lot older than me. He's about 10 years. No, he's not. He's 6 years older than me, is he? Hold on, just doing a mathematical thing here. Yeah, he's 6 years older than me. And I used to idol worship him, actually. I still do in a way, because he's great. He's eccentric to the extreme. I love him to bits. He's amazing. Anyway, he went on holiday to Wales, and he went to Bulgaria Island, and they had a zoo there, and they had two lion cubs. And when he came home from the break that he had in Bulgaria Island, he had lion cubs with him, which he
As you
bought,
do.
for £75 each. And I had the receipt for many years
From the zoo.
from the zoo. He bought them for £75 each. But sadly, and very sadly, in
Oh.
1976, there was a new wildlife. Well, actually, it's not sad, because otherwise you'd have hundreds of people with exotic animals running around the UK. But they brought out, because before that anybody could have a lion if they wanted a lion, as long as you had the right place to keep it. But he this was that was in 76, and this was 82, so there was a few. He was 6 years too late. But yeah, I mean, they went to Spark Wildlife Park in the end, but I think we had them for about 10 months before they had to go. But they were amazing, yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's a lovely memory that I have. A lovely,
What a
lovely memory I have.
story. What a
Yeah,
story.
yeah, it was
Absolutely
fun.
fantastic. And
But it's my brother that's mad, it's not me.
what does he do now? What does he do for a
He's
living?
he's got a container country. He's got a container company in Cornwall, which he's also got a haulage company in Cornwall, and he collects traction engine traction engines and traction engine lorries, and he collects telephone boxes and
Okay.
motorbikes, vintage motorbikes.
Does he have a big plot of land where he lives?
Well, yes, he runs it from my mum's address, but he's also got some land that he bought
Well,
outside.
that's handy.
Yeah, yeah, he's an amazing guy. Love him to bits. He's
What's his
really good.
company called?
With your commercials is one, and with
Mhm.
your containers is the other.
Well, there you go. We've given him a little
Plug.
commercial
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Justine, thank you so much. Um, it's been an absolute pleasure. And for people who want to contact Justine, what about volunteers? If people fancy coming and volunteering for a while, is that something that you're
Absolutely.
open to?
Well, we're on Workaway,
Uh-huh.
so people can go through there, or they can just email us on, go through our website, and you can email contact. There's a contact thing there. You can just go through and contact us, and we'll pick it up. And yeah, I mean, more the merrier. I mean, all I would say is, don't expect it to be like a UK. It's not going to be like a UK sort of rescue where you've
Hmm.
got state of the art buildings and state of the art, because you know, I'm going to say now, we bought built ours with £250,000, which sounds a lot of money, but when you consider, I don't think if you go to Battersea, I don't think even they're, I don't even think they're, I think it'd be several million. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
nothing. It's an absolute drop in the ocean. So we don't have the money that these other players. I mean, if anyone wants to start donating regularly, large sums of money, obviously we will. Every penny goes to the dogs. So
Mm.
the more money that comes in, the more that would be utilized. I would build a state of the art place. I would more than happy, if we had the money coming in, I would build it. Or not me personally, but I'd get people in that could.
Yes. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and because it would be amazing, and but it is what it is, and our thing is to help as many as we can to the best that we can, and our motto is Santerpaws Bulgarian Rescue until they all have homes, and that's what our motto is. So we always say until they all have homes, and that's we will continue to do what we can until they all have homes. And we
Beautiful, really beautiful. And
well,
I'm smiling, Justine, because
good.
it gladdens me really to hear that. And what a life, really. You should write a book about it.
Yeah, I don't know that I could sit down long enough in one place to do that.
You could get somebody to do it.
Yes, absolutely. Do you know any authors that
Well, I
want a
know a
job?
few. Let's put it that way.
Thought you might. Yeah, no,
I know
it
a
would be good.
few. I know a few. I'll tell you later. I'll talk about it with you later. But for people that want to help, fundraising, for example, volunteering, sending money, all I'm going to point them all in your direction, which is
Yeah,
Santa
absolutely.
Paws,
And
Bulgaria.
remember, I mean, if they've got companies as well, we are a registered charity, so you can, set it off against tax as well, which is which for some companies it's a biggie,
Mm.
you can. But or if you know any famous, but not necessarily you, I'm talking about your followers, if they know any famous, wonderful people that, would like to get involved as well, that would be, we could I never say no to the odd ambassador to come on board. That would be
Well, look,
we've got.
that's for everyone listening out there. I will have a chat with you, of course. Um, there's many things that we can do, I'm sure, especially for something like this. And um, fabulous. I think you're fabulous for what it's
Thank you so
worth.
thank
And
you so
thank you
much.
again for coming. And all of you, please do visit Santa Paws, Bulgaria, and see what you can do. Even if it's something small, it really does make a difference. And I wish you, Justine, all the very best.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having us on your show
It's a
as well.
pleasure. Take
Thank you.
care.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Justine Garratt, what a beautiful story, and one full of hope and happiness for these really, really beautiful dogs. Thank you again for listening. Until next time, do something beautiful for yourselves and for others. And lots of love to you all. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Secrets for an Inspirational Life, brought to you by your host, Mimi Novic. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast, and see you in the next episode. For more information about Mimi Novic and her books, music, and inspirational work, take a look at her website, www.miminovic.co.uk.